According to information obtained from Tesla suppliers, apparently Tesla's future Gigafactory in Mexico, which is supposed to manufacture their next generation of vehicles, won't start production until likely sometime in the first quarter of 2025. And Tesla is pushing hard to build a localized supply chain in Mexico, similar to what they have built in China, which will be a key factor in Tesla reaching a very low manufacturing cost for their new next-gen vehicles. So let's discuss this new report and how Tesla is localizing their supply chain to support their new factory in Mexico. I'm John, and this is Cleanerwatt. At Tesla's Investor Day on March 1st, they officially confirmed that they would be building a new Gigafactory in Nuevo Leon, Mexico, and that factory would use Tesla's new unboxed manufacturing process to build their next generation of more affordable vehicles. There's been quite a bit of speculation about when this factory would actually be completed and when Tesla would actually be able to be producing vehicles from this factory. However, according to a recent article from latepost.com, Tesla's latest plan apparently is to have this plant producing cars in the first quarter of 2025, which is a bit later than previous expectations because, as the author of this Late Post article wrote, quote, Tesla had previously underestimated the difficulty of building a factory in Mexico. Now, while any delay is somewhat disappointing, especially if you're someone who is really excited about Tesla's more affordable vehicles coming out. In the grand scheme of things, though, a slight delay really isn't a big deal, and delays are to be expected as Tesla implements a new, unboxed, more efficient manufacturing process. As was discussed at Tesla's March 1st Investor Day, Tesla's new unboxed process will allow for a greater operator density in the factory, and the manufacturing footprint of this new process should not only take up less space in the factory, but it should also result in a drastic reduction in manufacturing costs. With that being said, as I mentioned previously, Tesla is pushing very hard to localize their supply chain in Mexico, similar to what Tesla has been able to do in China for their Shanghai factory. And Tesla's Gigafactory in China has been a massive success and has been a key catalyst to Tesla's recent growth. Tesla was not only able to build that factory in record time, but they also have quickly ramped up production at that factory. And in 2022, according to this latepost.com article, Giga Shanghai accounted for 54% of Tesla's global production. In addition, Gigafactory Shanghai is extremely profitable for Tesla, and in addition, very efficient as well. And from what I can tell, it appears like Giga Shanghai is Tesla's most efficient factory. Now, when it really comes down to what makes this possible, beyond the very hardworking and intelligent members of the Tesla China team, one of the key drivers of profitability and efficiency for this factory has been Tesla's ability to mostly localize their supply chain, which reduces not only the transportation cost and time, but also in addition allows for quicker turnaround for parts. For example, once again, according to this latepost.com article, quote, 95% of the Model 3 parts manufactured in the Shanghai factory are produced in China. In addition, the author of this article added, quote, most of the auto parts factories are within 300 kilometers of the Shanghai factory. Moving back to Tesla's future Gigafactory in Mexico and the supply chain there. When you really realize the kind of massive volume that Tesla plans to produce at that factory in Mexico, and you think about the supply chain, how many parts will be needed, and then when you also factor in that Tesla wants to drastically reduce the cost of manufacturing and produce a very affordable vehicle, the least expensive vehicle that Tesla has offered to date, it's going to require every part of that process to be extremely efficient, and the supply chain, once again, is a big part of that. Thankfully, it appears like Tesla really is pushing hard to localize the supply chain in Mexico. And on that topic, the author of this Late Post article wrote, quote, "A number of Tesla suppliers told Late Post that Tesla began negotiating with Chinese suppliers last year for supply chain orders for Mexican factories, provided that component suppliers must achieve localized production in Mexico." When it comes to the progress that Tesla is making in convincing these suppliers to move their production to Mexico, once again, according to this Late Post article, quote, "According to incomplete statistics from Late Post, more than 20 Tesla's Chinese suppliers have announced plans to build factories in Mexico or have already built factories in Mexico." When it comes to the specific 20 companies that were mentioned by this author, this article did include a great chart, and I used Google Translate to translate the text in this chart, and I've reproduced it here for you in a little different form in English. You can see there the various company names translated from Chinese into English by Google Translate, and the basic products that each of those companies manufacture. At the bottom of the original Late Post chart, it also had a note that, quote, "Companies with red names are already building factories. Companies with blue names have factories." Now, localizing Tesla's supply chain in Mexico, that not only has huge benefits for Tesla's future factory in Mexico, but it also is apparently going to benefit their factories in the USA as well. Once again, going back to that Late Post article, the author wrote, quote, "Tesla's Mexican factory is more than 200 kilometers away from the US-Mexico border and 600 kilometers away from Tesla's Texas factory. The two factories will share part of the supply chain. It is understood that Tesla has told some of the suppliers it is already cooperating with that if it fails to achieve local production in Mexico by 2025, it may lose orders currently exported to Tesla's California and Texas factories in the United States." So really, to wrap all this up, once again, a slight delay in Gigafactory Mexico actually producing cars really isn't a big deal in the grand scheme of things, and is completely understandable when you realize the massive scale of production that is planned for this factory. Once again, also localizing the supply chain is good not only for local economies, but also better for the environment and will be a key to Tesla hitting the cost reduction targets that they've outlined for their next generation vehicles. Do let me know what you think about all this in the comments section below. And also, once again, I'd like to thank all of those of you who support me through Patreon. Your support really does make a big difference and helps make these videos possible. If you'd like to find out more about how you can support my work through Patreon, I will put a link in the video description. Thank you so much.